Good evening and welcome to the news of Ashorooq TV. Today's stories include: Mr. Addiger affirms his party's support to the UN mission in accordance with the government's request. The United Federal Party calls for handing over the head of the ousted regime to the ICC. The UNAMAD calls for restraint in the IDP camps in Darfur. The leader of the Sudanese Congress Party, Engineer Omar Addiger, has renewed the support of his party to the arrival of the political mission of the United Nations in accordance with the tasks set in a letter sent to the United Nations on February the 27th. Responding to a question of SUNA on the issuance of the Resolution 2524 and 2525, Mr. Addiger stressed the importance of cooperation with the UN mission to enable it to carry out the tasks set by the Sudanese people through their official and popular institutions. Mr. Addiger pointed out that Mr. Kosheb's surrender of himself to the International Criminal Court, the ICC, is considered an important breakthrough in the file of the accountability and justice in Darfur, stressing that the demand for delivery of those accused to the International Criminal Court remains one of the most important requirements for justice. The United Federal Party has affirmed its support for the surrender of all wanted persons and warrants issued against them by the criminal court to appear before the international justice led by the ousted President Omar al-Bashir and his companions. The United Federal Party has affirmed its support to the programs and objectives of the transitional government for achieving the goals of the glorious revolution. The leader of the party, Mr. Mohammed Ismat Yahya, affirmed the party's full support to the peace negotiations now underway in Juba, appreciating the efforts made by the armed struggle movement and the role of South Sudan in sponsoring the peace talks. The International Criminal Court, the ICC, has announced that the suspect, Ali Kosheb, will appear before court's pre-trial procedural session on June 15th. Kosheb has surrendered to the ICC voluntarily in the Central African Republic and transferred to The Hague on the 9th of June. The first warrant of arrest, which was delivered on the 27th of April 2007 against Ali Kosheb, lists 50 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity. The ICC had issued a new warrant of arrest on the 11th of June. The leading figure of the Sudanese Revolutionary Front, the senior negotiator for the Darfur tract, Mr. Ahmed Tugud, has affirmed the solution of many of the outstanding issues, indicating that the signing of the peace agreement by the government and the Revolutionary Front has become imminent. In a statement to SUNA, Mr. Tugud said that the negotiating parties have finalized discussions of most issues, explaining that the negotiation is currently focused on the security arrangement file and the measures of disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration, which is a penultimate stage prior to the discussion of the reform and promotion of the military institutions. He considered the measures and arrangements that have been taken so far to be sound and reasonable and would lead to achieving a peace agreement shortly. The United Nations African Mission in Darfur, the UNAMAD, has urged the people of South Darfur State to resort to restraint and maintain calm following the incident in the Kalma camp, to pave the way for police investigations into the killing of 2 people and the injury of a 3rd. The AU-UN Joint Representative for Darfur and the head of the UNAMAD, Mr. Jeremiah Mamabolo, in a press statement, calls the Kelma residents to not allow the situation to escalate any further and encourages all the parties to resort to legal means of addressing this crime. The members of the Council of the Sudanese Professional Union, Mr. Al-Walid Ali Ahmed, said the SPA has adopted a political vision through which it will achieve a realistic executive plan on the issue of the transitional period, at the top of which are the trade unions, peace, the completion of the structure of the authority, and the relation between the components of the revolution. Mr. Al-Walid said the SPA's vision of the trade unions represents the basic role for building trade unions' roles, and that the independent movement works with the partners and the newborn preliminary committees to submit the trade unions' democratic law to approval to fill the current trade union gaps. Coronavirus cases have recorded a significant decrease in Khartoum State, with an increase in death and recovery. Khartoum State has recorded 67 new infections, while the deaths have increased to 20, and the recoveries have increased to 138 cases. The epidemic report of the Federal Ministry of Health announced on Wednesday the registration of 149 new coronavirus cases, which were as follows: 67 cases in Khartoum State, 35 cases in Jazeera State, 16 cases in Sennar State, 1 case in Al-Gadarif State, 11 cases in North Darfur State, 2 cases in West Darfur State, and 17 cases in the Red Sea State. Reminding headlines. Mr. Ad-Diger affirms his party's support to the UN mission in accordance with the government's request. The United Federal Party calls for handing over the head of the ousted regime to the ICC. The UNIMAT calls for restraint in the IDP camps in Darfur. That was it for today. See you next time.